de cho tamba kuni to so se wata te su ke kasu da ngara su su ke o bi bagi kinala lam thapse ni jibu ji demba ni lam thapse ni jibu kuni se de nang be jona tu su mu tu kala ta te na la kasu wa ngara su lam tho saya de lam thapse ni de te ni tho sa ni lam demba ni de kuzo demba ani pe mata maje bena maje bena kuzo demba chanju ki semne buchi kuzo demba ani nilu ani pe age shitanje ni nilu zamo tomba ni de ani sherebisha tingi ta chi age demba ni siade konso demba na tondam demba ni tusia ani tingi lam ti indugala ti jene lam demba ni de io insan lam demba ni si de konso demba tondam demba ani ti demba ni yobe tula dene ani njibu kuni to kuresi ta chugu kundu zampo da lungu ani te onde gala ta janju ki semgi zimbe ta gawa kale jichebaina sonam ki sosuro ne lungu tu chiki yuru guare toni to be le zimbe ta gawa kale jichebaina di chuki gura di guare inge tamba kuni to basho sia da wata tere sonam jile to sonam jile 이거니 교구 손이 실례도 손이 실례중에 담아보니 담아서 왔어요. 왔다 손에다 왔다 두스리 땡기가 담아라 균도 단대시 삼다나 자주기 셈살때 델라니 베직 레와 간대시 때 나라라지네 바지 삼다위나 셰로키 람 탑시 니기즈메 에가바이차 인디부 꾸니기 줄어야지 누구로 이 내가 정말 어떻게 공부하려고 해 집차고 좋았어 남간 저 인돌이가 다게 개베서와 강바 대 선전탄지 녀월서 민주와 맞주지 시송바 탐지 개자 통이 줄린다 예영 개자 또 중 돈을 제 감지 짐바 또 보암 말레 중에 더부아 잘라 중에 개와는 가자면 인체 장주기 셈을 붙이 귤에 기마나 속에 개와 떡치와 담체 경 공도시비 시진 림바테 달라 상와레리 땅위 율세라 탐지경 센딩이라 상게 문도 예 제비 유견 초바 상와레리에 손이 터치 상게는 생기 추구 대화당 lembar samu se wada tichi wada pa tangju kala tele ngwa je gure wada te sunga
Continue with the reading on page 69. The Master Nagarjuna also says, by this virtue may all beings gather the collections of merit and wisdom, and as the result of the merit and wisdom may they achieve the two sublime bodies. So one way of classifications, which is quite common, that you might have heard, the entire Buddhist teachings into three. The first one is the basis. For the basis, it is categorized into two: true truth, conventional and ultimate truth, and then second is path. For the path, it is again categorized into two, that is method and wisdom, and then finally the result. The result is also categorized into two sublime bodies, or two Buddha bodies. And so true truth, first conventional or relative truth is the mode of appearance of things without putting under any analysis. The way they appear to us is the conventional truth, and the reality lacking intrinsic or inherent nature is the ultimate truth. And the relationship between these two, as Nagarjuna mentioned here, these two sublime bodies, truth body and form body, and these two eventually can be attained through application or implementation of two paths. So understanding of emptiness will lead to the attaining of truth body, and the practice of method, which is altruism, will lead to the attainment of form bodies of Buddha. The questions, continue with the reading, the questions of Gagan Aganya Sutra says, may whatever sources of virtue I have to be transformed into sustenance for all sentient beings. All these are ways of giving away virtues, from such weak virtues as the gift of a handful of food to an animal, and incidental good deeds to such powerful virtues as cultivation of the awakening mind. All of them should be dispensed to beings in all the worlds, as described above. Think that they each acquire their complete causes and conditions for attaining enlightenment, and with the perfection of the two collections of merit and wisdom, they awaken to enlightenment, possessing in their mind streams the bliss of the perfect body of truth.
sambale jengi ngojam jorwa rangi longchana ningbo meto nyama teni mainte tela nyibe chidar chanju sebe tetu gaji te kono mari par mate parchena miri tao esem mosa chimbu chen yosu shebarki sul dina ra oda dina che kasore gaza tono e kopa panto oda to sungore kaje lui onche gaza da ka jina tantane ngana so che so minam chale joge kaje che joge kwala ne kulonche ne ane susu bene tamdine tagi kontu jujile nijini jugu yondwa nidi jugu yondwa la juni shedi gala tambo tangwa de shiga nyanen jidiga tambo lemba de nyanen cheba lemba de nyanen cheba ina tagi dungal ne yondwa la dela pa de sonam chisandro di sonam de tantu gala 양파 대생으로 땅 주고 인디가 집 렘바데 물레지 니지미 바 싸도데 동아리 주고지 니지메 바 싸도데 우데 몸디가나 렘비미 바지 우 파당디가 데라 우 마르바진다 데디페 슈추보다 하다요바 데디 지금 우장보 림고지 또 심다게 심식게 침을
So we will stop after this reading. Page 69, last sentence. Should you wonder what is the use of training in the thought of giving, it is that unless you train from now on, later you will be unable to make even the smallest gift, which will be an impediment. So, the reason is mentioned here why it is important to practice at the mental level through visualization of giving. So, when it comes to the actual practice of giving, then you are already prepared. There is no obstruction or impediment at all. You can easily put into practice that you have been training mentally. And we see kind of same example with the Aryadev, who gave one of his eyeball literally to somebody who is needy. So that is something can be something that is feasible, that can happen when you reach at the right stage of practice of giving. You are kind of prepared to give anything that is needed. If the questions of Subahu Sutra says, the name of the text, if you train the mind to give right away with prolonged familiarity, you will find no difficulty in actually giving away your body and so forth. The King of Meditative Stabilization Sutra also says, just as the more you analyze something, your conceptions about it increase, so does your mind become acquainted with it. Aryavira said, however weak is your intention to benefit others, you should always abide by this thought. Whoever has such a thought will bring it to fulfillment. The great Chakawa said, Geshe Chakawa, the more you are acquainted with it, the more you purify conceptions. Take the help of many examples, such as the 7 generations, quote unquote. In birth stories we read, may all actions such as seeing, hearing, remembering, touching, or even conversing be of benefit to beings, and may I always work to give them peace. In this way, by practicing generosity sincerely towards all sentient beings, we can instantly accumulate merits as innumerable as the beings themselves. The precious Garland says, if the merits of speaking thus could be given physical form, it would completely fill the whole of space and even overflow that. So this kind of shows the sheer size of, shape, if the merit that you created has actually size, even overflow that. This was stated by the Sattva Buddha and supported by sound reasons. For just as the number of beings is beyond limit, so is the intention of to benefit them. When we use the food, clothes, and so on that we have sincerely dedicated to other beings, if we forget the welfare of others and use them with attachment to ourselves, it is a deluded downfall. If it is done free from such attachment, but forgetful of others' interests, it is an undiluted downfall. If you have dedicated to a certain thing to someone else, you knows it and has taken possession of that thing, and then motivated by self-interest and an intention to steal, you make use of that thing. This qualifies as a stealing and is a breach of the vows of individual emancipation, as the compendium of training makes clear. We should examine how a bodhisattva should behave when he makes use of such things. If we make use of something with the intention of working for sentient beings, there will be no moral fault. So here, this is talking about what qualifies something stealing as actually stealing, and therefore, negative deed. You will find more detail about this in the actual Vinaya text, the practice of discipline. For example, it talks about, the object that you steal, whether it becomes actually a stealing or not. It depends on the sort of the value of object. If that object, when you steal, in that particular location or region or country, if stealing that kind of object, you are, you're going to end up in prison, then that is kind of, so, but it's in just one example, you are, that kind of object worth of ending up in prison, it becomes, a negative act of stealing. So it varies from kind of circumstances or, the locations or the law or policies of, depending on the situation. The compendium of training says, there will be no fault if you think, quote, I shall use this with the intention of protecting both the possessions and their owner. So, one kind of exception mentioned here. This is similar to the case of this is similar to the case of slave who always in the service of his master has no belongings of his own. You might think that it is futile to dedicate your possessions to others since you are using them for yourself. Using them yourself. This is not so. The above text says, some who have not realized suchness lose faith in bodhisattvas who practice in this way. This is unreasonable because such bodhisattvas have a thorough realization of munificent thought of giving. It is therefore inappropriate for others to have doubts about how they behave. So and after here, the kind of the text deals with, as we see at the beginning of this section, giving practice or offering practice, and under the giving we see, giving or offering, your own body, wealth, possessions, positive virtues. And to sort of incorporate this in our day-to-day life, generating a positive thought of giving in kind of, a positive thought in like a morning, every morning. And so the the practice of giving and taking, and to incorporate in the morning motivation, and when you do such practice of the giving and taking in the form of in the form of breathing, as we mentioned in the earlier part, in practice, the first comes the practice of taking, with using special compassion skill. But when we look at the text kind of goes the opposite way. It first talks about giving, practice, offering. Then comes practice of compassion. When in terms of practice, compassion is, it comes first, and then giving later, taking first and giving later. And in giving and taking, when you do this practice through visualization, using exhaling and inhaling, then as mentioned before, when you exhale and inhale, it should be such a way that there is, not making any kind of sound or noises, very slowly, smoothly, but also kind of, longer kind of duration of both exhaling and inhaling. And
중국 된다가 냠랭이 고도 호야 가셔래요. 왔다 체미지라 집어지겨라 와. 정가 체미 20세에 가왔으면 당연 체미세비 당연 체미때 주구주구 셔리가 체미지나라. 아니 냠랭 지리 가라 체미지도 당보지. 당연도 당보 당연도 맞으라. 가와 체미때 20세에 정가 체미 중에요. 이는 당보 당연 체미도 되니 가와 체미 되니 정가 체미 20세에 중국으로 서서봐. 다 집어지겨라. lemba de muleci ani nyamen chidi kala juni shede lembe nyamen di jugu shedo ate nyamen chidi kala lemba de muleci ani tongwa de jugu che ate ti lamme menga ka khapung re se de ti sung do
So here, we see kind of, differences in how it is shown in the text, in the scripture, the first practice of giving and then later practice of taking, using compassion. But in practice, as we mentioned before, when you do actual practice, you do taking first and then you move on to the giving. So it's a kind of reverse in practice. And you find this in other practices such as practice of four immeasurables, immeasurable, compassion, immeasurable love. When you look at how it is shown in the text, the sequence, the first comes immeasurable love and immeasurable compassion, immeasurable joy, and then comes immeasurable equanimity or neutrality. But in actual practice, you should be reversing the sequence. You should practice first equanimity, and then move to joy, compassion, love. But these are, in the saying, you get this kind of lesson more through kind of oral tradition rather than, reading in the text. So there is an oral kind of tradition of, giving this kind of, say, instruction, although it is reverse in sequence, but in practice, you need to do kind of otherwise. Any questions? I guess we're going to stop here for today. Somebody. Gurve shingam de pendan de wa malu jongwe ne jere zingwa tenzin gyatso in shawe sire pardo den jambe bawe jidra jemban da kondu sangbo de an de shen den de da gungi jason da lo jen gyawa de da tamjera Tēsum shēbēn gyāwā tamchē kī ngōwā kānglō chōdō ngāba dēn dāshēn gyāwēn tsāwā dīk sāngbō jōjē rabdō ngōwā rāyikī. The land is circled by snow white mountains. The source of all happiness and benefits flows in a person generously attains in gyāsa, remained until samsara ends. Just as the Buddha Supramanjushri attained omniscience and Samantabhatra too, so now I try to get these merits to train and follow in their footsteps. As all the victorious Buddhas of past, present, and future, praise dedication to the Supreme. So now I do dedicate this source of my merit for all beings to perfect.